Hi, welcome everyone. The Ford Focus is of course not an exotic car on the roads, but the ST version isn't seen that often. And that's exactly the idea Bartłomiej came to me with, saying that there's basically a big gap on Polish YouTube when it comes to the third generation Focus ST. I did have what was called the Mutant on my channel once, but that was a completely separate case because that car was heavily modified. Here we have a fairly stock version, but again, not entirely stock, but I'll tell you more about the details in a moment. Bartłomiej, please come in.
Hi, I'm Bartek. I came to you from the other part of Krakow, from Zielonki, and I wanted to introduce you to my car. This is a Ford Focus MK3 in what I think is the best version that came out, which is the ST. This car was produced in 2015 and it's the MK3 ST in the facelifted version, one of the first models. How did it end up in my hands? Honestly, a bit by accident. I've been driving Fords since 2010 first. It was a Galaxy. Also a Focus MK2 in a really nice chrome version. That was in 2008. This version was a bit sporty, but not 100% sporty. And of course, I like to browse all the auction sites. And one Saturday evening, that exact model caught my eye. The photo was really well taken and it was a quick action. So I called the owner, traveled there the same day on Sunday morning, and by Monday the car was already at my place. There's also a very interesting story connected to this. When I arrived at the owner's place, it was a small town near Mizana Dolna. The owner wasn't there. I called him. He apologized and said he'd arrive in 5 minutes, asking us to wait. I was with my wife. 5 minutes later, the owner arrived. He was driving a Ford Kuga. He parked that Ford Kuga. He got out and said, "Here you go." And my wife and I were standing there a bit surprised. We asked what was going on. He said, "Sorry." He went to get the keys, opened the garage and drove out a really strong... We laughed, but we checked out the car. He apologized to us for it being dirty. I knew the car was imported from the States. You know, if it's from the States, it must have had some damage. Here too, it's obvious that the bumper and the left fender have been replaced. Honestly, this color is great. I don't know if we'll be able to capture it on camera here, but when the sun shines, it's kind of black, but it has these little specks of green and silver. It really stands out. Maybe I'll also mention the differences. It's definitely the bumper. It's much bulkier and more massive than the regular version. Of course, the ST logo and a slightly bigger grille than in the regular model. As for the side of the car, we have side skirts here. Here we actually have 18s. You can also optionally put on 19s, but I think 19s are reserved for the RS. As for the back of the car, we also have a slightly different bumper, also a bit more massive than the regular models, and it features this single exhaust split into 2 outlets. It's one pipe divided into 2 parts, you could say. Of course, we also have the ST emblem. It's even a bit bigger than the one at the front. And what I think gives the most character when it comes to the look of this car is definitely this spoiler. Of course, you won't find one like this in the regular version. One more very important difference. This feature, look, is only in the American version. I can open the car with the code. In this model, we have a 2-liter 4-cylinder, of course, inline engine. I would actually consider this a bit of a downside because the MK2 had 2.5-liter engines and they definitely sounded better. But this engine is more powerful than the previous ones, producing 250 horsepower from the factory. And here I also have an interesting story. After buying it, I thought about slightly increasing the car's power. I went to the dyno and it turned out that it probably already had a mild tune on it in the States because it showed 257 horsepower. Normally, after so many years, I would have around 230 or 240, so those 257 indicated that it's already slightly tuned. But interestingly, the torque figure was really high. Factory spec is supposed to be 360 Nm, but on the dyno I got 407 Nm, which I consider to be more than enough power, especially since this is a front-wheel drive model. Increasing the power would only generate extra costs related to a bigger intercooler, possibly problems with the clutch, and with this front-wheel drive, those 250 horsepower and over 400 Nm are more than enough for everyday driving. As for fuel consumption, we won't get it down to 5 or 6 liters, even though I know the manufacturer gave such figures years ago. On the highway, driving really economically, we can get below 8 liters, but it's hard to do. Realistically, you should expect around 8 liters when driving calmly. In the city, 10 liters is a given. In my case, I mostly do mixed driving. I stay within those 10 liters. Let's say I average around 9.5 liters, which I think, considering what this car offers, not just in terms of power, but also the excitement of driving it, is definitely satisfying.
My dear friends, the partner of this episode is Mubi.pl, which is a well-known way to buy cheap insurance. This comparison tool checks offers from many different insurance companies and provides a ranking of the cheapest options. By purchasing through Mubi.pl/Zakar after buying a policy, you can also receive 100 zloty cashback. Check it yourself, even if your policy isn't expiring right now. After entering your car's details, you'll get an overview of the whole market in a few seconds. One thing to note: the prices displayed will be before deducting the mentioned cashback. You can compare it to what you paid for your previous policy. It could be useful later. The link's in the description, so let's avoid overpaying for insurance.
I didn't mention the mileage of this car to you. In theory, at least, it's not small. Right now, I think I have about 236,000 kilometers. I have driven exactly 84,000 myself, with regular oil changes, and here I try to do it every 8,000 kilometers, 10,000 at most. I have absolutely no problems with this engine. When it comes to operating costs, oil changes, filters, things like that are practically no different from the regular model. Actually, on the contrary, I have a cone filter here that doesn't need to be replaced, you just need to clean it, so that's already saving a few zlotys. Speaking of repairs, the most serious one I had was the steering rack rebuild. That also happened right after I bought the car. I think it was also caused by the fact that the car had been hit on the left side, and the left wheel might have taken a bit of a hit, which probably led to the steering rack failure. All in all, it cost me around 2,500, so it's not really an astronomical amount of money. But honestly, that was the only serious breakdown in the last 12 months. I replaced the clutch cylinder, which cost around 800 zlotys, and the rear bearing along with the hub, but that's just like in a regular Focus. Aside from that, it's just normal wear and tear parts. Another thing I wanted to talk about are the flaws of these models. Here, when I arranged to meet with Zakar off, I decided that I needed to look something up on the internet because in my opinion, this car has only one flaw, which I'll mention later. What information did I find? The intercooler is too weak. In my case, that's not true at all. Even though the power has been slightly increased, the clutch can't handle it. I have absolutely no problem with that. It burns oil. From one oil change to the next, I don't even have to top up 50 milliliters. The plastics inside. Well, let's say I can partly agree with that, but you know what you're buying. It's a Ford, and here it's completely acceptable. However, in my opinion, the only drawback of this car is that it has front-wheel drive only. If this car had all-wheel drive, I think it would be perfect for everyday driving, on the track and wherever we want. Let's move to the interior. Inside, there aren't too many differences either. The steering wheel has the ST emblem. In this case, I had it custom stitched. The sides are leather and the top and bottom are Alcantara. I think it gives it a more sporty character. Another difference that sets this model apart from the regular one is these gauges on top of the dashboard. They show the oil temperature, boost pressure and oil pressure. Honestly, they're very useful because if you care about your car, it's worth not pushing it hard when it's cold, as they say. In my case, I never drive here. I don't push it too hard until the oil temperature rises to at least 60 or 70 degrees Celsius. The third difference is the button to turn off the stability control. Here in the ST, it's placed next to the gear shift lever. I know this option is also available in regular models, but you have to do it from the menu. The most noticeable difference, of course, is the seats. These are Recaro seats. They are 100% leather. Not only do they provide great support, but I have to say they're really comfortable. I mentioned earlier that I took it to Italy twice, I took it to Croatia. I've done a lot of trips in Poland, and this car is really comfortable to drive. Well, maybe getting in is a bit more difficult, but it's not an SUV and we have to fully take that into account. When it comes to design, obviously that's a matter of each user's taste, but this still has that analog era feel.
I think I'm broader than you because unfortunately I can't speak as positively about this Recaro. It pushes my thighs more toward the center. I can also get comfortable behind the steering wheel without any problem. Here the range of adjustment is sufficient, which is quite a rare situation. Usually on the left side I have quite a lot of space for my knee, and the console, which slowly starts turning into the center tunnel here, starts to limit me. However, here it's exactly the opposite. Because someone designed the console like this on the left side with these air vents and the knob for adjusting the lights, I can't get any closer to the steering wheel. Above my head there's room for about 1.5 fingers, not much. I can't lower the seat more, but I don't have to slouch. So the 2-meter tall person test in the front is definitely passed. In the back of the Focus, nothing has changed. I'm barely fitting. Maybe this Recaro seat is a bit bulkier. Maybe I have slightly less knee room. Either way. Here I don't have any headroom anyway because I can't straighten up. This 2-meter tall person test can't be passed.
When it comes to the trunk, in this model, it's not really the most important thing to talk about. I think it has 316 liters, but I don't remember exactly. For 2 people, 2 suitcases fit here perfectly. You can go on vacation, your shopping fits. Personally, I don't need anything more. If you want a bigger trunk, choose another car.
The idea behind the ST is very simple. We take a Ford Focus and turn it into a car that will give you more excitement, but it will still remain a street car, pleasant for everyday use, right?
Definitely. We have to find a balance, and I think the ST version handled it really well. I also have an RS, but you have to admit that this car isn't really suitable for daily use.
Yes, because you said something very important at the very beginning of this video and you never came back to it, so I thought I'd press you for more details. Exactly during the test drive, because you said that this is the best version of this car.
Yes, I said that. I've driven the regular ones, I've driven the MK2, my mom had the MK1, I've driven the RS, I've driven the MK4, I've driven the regular MK4. For me, this car is the most balanced, meaning it doesn't have that extreme sporty feel like the RS, but you can drive it sportily, you can drive it comfortably, and you can use it every day. That's very important to me. I do quite a lot of driving, as I mentioned, and with the RS that would be impossible. I think that with the MK3 and the ST version you can do that.
Here, fortunately, we have a lot of different manholes along the way. And actually, when going over these manholes, I don't feel anything that would suggest we're driving a sports car at all. It combines the best features, that civilized, pleasant ride, and at the same time the possibility, oh, there you go, exactly. And now imagine if on top of that you had the sound of the 5-cylinder from the MK2.
That's it, that's what's a bit missing here. It has 407 Newton meters, but notice that it's practically available across the whole range. You're driving in 4th gear now.
We're going at a steady 2000.
Exactly, you press the gas and it accelerates instantly, no downshifting needed.
What I like about this car is the Ford gearbox, which is very clear and precise.
Manuals only, no automatic option is offered, and there's no limited slip differential. I think there's an electronic one that slightly breaks the inner wheel. Maybe we should say something about those hissing sounds. The viewers will definitely hear them. It's not available in every model. It's a blow-off valve. It's installed between the turbo and the throttle body, and when you let off the gas, the excess air, the excess pressure is released, which creates that characteristic hissing sound. That's exactly what new cars won't give you, the joy of driving. Driving on roads like these, not on the highway where there are a lot of faster cars that have much better 0 to 100 times. I think the factory spec here is 6.3 seconds, my best was 5.7 seconds. Which I think is quite a good result, but 0 to 100 doesn't give me any fun at all. But taking a faster corner, now that's something.
With front-wheel drive, 0 to 100, it's a bit of luck to get the right traction at the right moment. I don't completely agree that new cars don't give you the joy of driving.
Maybe I exaggerated.
Maybe they have a different
formula.
I understand the point that we still have that here. A fully analog car like this, which wasn't created primarily with emissions in mind, but for the pleasure of driving, in a way that's as cost-effective as possible.
We can find them on various auction sites for between 40 and 70,000. Of course, it depends on the year and the condition. This model, considering that I've already driven almost 240,000 kilometers, it would be hard for me to put a price on it, but I know it's worth much more even if someone paid me the highest price for it. And even if I added about the same amount, so let's say we're talking about 120 or 130,000, I don't really see any cars on the market that would give me more fun in everyday driving, just normal driving where you're driving slowly and you're smiling.
That's a great confirmation. I also have to laugh because I'm hearing this exact line for the second time today, since earlier I was driving an M3. I saw it.
While I was waiting, great car.
And it's the same with the M3.
There was a V8.
Yes, but it was more about the costs, that this car costs this much today. And now if you try to sell it, you'd have to buy it back just to recoup what you'd lose.
I can't disagree. Exactly. I'll add one more thing. We discussed the drawbacks, but there's another I need to mention. It's about the fuel tank in this car. It only has 45 liters. It's quite troublesome. I don't really know why it's like that, because theoretically at least it should have 55 liters. In this case it has 45 liters and you just have to visit the gas station more often.
50 per hour. But I would really want to, I'll tell you. Everything here worked out. And the steering system, which is a bit too, I usually appreciate it when it doesn't give any resistance. However, in this car, it offered almost no resistance at all. It was like being in city mode, and the steering system just didn't fight me. Good. However, it also didn't have that sporty heft. Anyway, I turned it just the way I wanted, without any resistance. And importantly, it turned, and what's more, the tire also turned. And we went exactly where we wanted to right away. And you could already feel the tire scrubbing against the asphalt. And it was interesting that the car reacted so willingly, and basically the only casualty was the tire, which had to scrub across the asphalt for a moment. But all in all, I was wondering if any electronic systems were interfering with us. Returning to my lane, I concluded they weren't.
I'll pick up on that too, especially when it comes to the acceleration. Once, somewhere, I either read or heard on YouTube that someone said this car is always ready to go fast. And even here, just driving slowly like now, I always feel that you don't have to do much to overtake someone, to pick up speed, or to take that turn nicely.
Actually, the most enjoyable thing about all this isn't that it has some monstrous power, but that you can feel a certain lightness in it. I'm not surprised you've kept driving it for years. It's hard to give up. Yes?
It's been almost 4 years, and for now I don't plan to get rid of it at all. I'm not ruling it out completely, but I just don't see an alternative. You can suggest ideas in the comments. We're happy to discuss.
Sure. I'll also urge you to drop a 5. Now we're back at 2000 RPM, and that makes... Oh.
Compared to these two, it's a bit lighter, but it's also not typical. There's a bit of turbo lag. There's no other way to describe it.
Tell me what you do before we finish, since we're heading back to the park and have just a few minutes left.
Yes, I've been working at one company for 10 years. Shout out to the guys from Hood Market and one girl because she wouldn't forgive me. We deal with refrigeration and air conditioning. We sell products related to this industry. We don't serve individual customers. We supply service companies, meaning installation and maintenance companies.
We're coming back now, we're already
I didn't notice that, but it just happened accidentally.
That they'll handle it. To sum up, because we're already turning towards the park, you found what you could call a holy grail when it comes to a sporty car that's still not too sporty.
A bit by accident, but I think I really nailed it because I've been speaking in superlatives about this car pretty much from the beginning. These are my subjective feelings. Obviously, a lot of people will disagree with me.
But unless you point out a really specific flaw where this car truly fails, and not something like it doesn't have 16-wheel drive.
Let me interrupt you. I mentioned the drive as a flaw. Well, maybe it's not really a flaw because that was actually the intention, so we can't really count that as a flaw. But I don't see any clear one.
Well, I guess we just have to believe that we found a car without any flaws. So thank you for the presentation. It's been a long time since we've had a car without flaws on this show.
Finally, we have the first one. I'm glad we're in Skawina because now we can go straight to those famous Zapiekanki, so we'll give them a try.
So thanks for showing us the car.
Thank you as well.
It was nice to meet you, and it was also great to take a ride in the best car under the sun, flawless, the Holy Grail. And I wish you continued trouble-free driving and hope you find another Holy Grail, because there must be one out there.
I think this video can last half a minute. This will be that last half a minute.
Our conversation. All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you all as well for watching this episode. Remember to subscribe and see you in future videos.